Okay, I'm back. This is going to be a relatively short video, or the intention is it to be short, because over the coming weeks there's going to be more that's happening. It will all slot into place. If you're new to watching this video, I'd probably recommend going back, just having a look at some of the previous videos that I've done, especially the 100 Days to Ironman that I did last year. Have a look. This is going to follow a very similar theme, a similar concept. Now, if I seem a little bit all over the place, it's because this is the third attempt for me recording this. One was after actually my first consultation stroke lesson from today, but my boom mic had broken. The second attempt was about half an hour ago, just before I was eating my pre-made food, and what had actually happened is I'd unplugged my radio mic from the back end of that, so I'm repeating myself for the second time. This time, hopefully with volume or with audio, and I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter in comparison to what I did in the last video. So, who am I? What am I doing? My name is Ben Ciabadetti. I'm a high performance coach. I work with the mindset in elite athletes. I have an online 7-day mindset program, and I have a best-selling book in sports psychology. That is it. Standard, nothing more to know or nothing less to know. Last year I competed one of the hardest endurance events on the planet, or considered to be one of the hardest endurance events on the planet, with just 100 days training from a standing start. Brilliant. There was a nostalgic aspect to that as well. I lost 20 kilos of muscle mass pre that training. So 2015, I was 97 kilos, 10% body fat. As you can probably tell now, I'm not 97 kilos and 10% body fat. I am 80 kilos, 20% body fat. Last September, when I last competed, so just a few months ago now, I was 77 kilos, that was my race weight, at around about 9-10% body fat. So I put on body fat since. I've been swimming, but that's about it. Not been picking up any weights whatsoever. So this is from a standing start, and I want to make that clear, because a lot of people will see the previous work that I've done and assume naturally that is going to transition into other sports particularly well. It isn't, and that became apparent today, which I'll come on to in a second. So, needed to get back into something. Was thinking about a number of different endurance events. The latter part of last year, I applied to complete or compete in 8 different ultra marathons. Sadly, I didn't get into any of those. They run on like a ballot lottery basis. I didn't get into any of those, so I was a bit stuck to what to do. I did 30 days of mountain biking. I did the 30 days but didn't record it all, so you'll see I think 12 days which are on here. I found it pretty gruesome, to be fair. I loved every minute of it, but it affected parts of my body that I didn't even know I had. So mountain biking constantly for 30 days is a really enjoyable sport, but you need some good padding. That's all I'm going to say on that. So decided last week that I needed to do something. Work is coming to an end in terms of new projects. We had a lot of completion going on. The new Encyclopedia of Sports Psychology is doing really, really well. That's now at the stage where that's been completed. I'm still working with my clients. The online 7-day mindset series is doing very well. We're actually shifting that to version 2.0 coming very soon. So that's going to be rolled out in the next couple of months, with lots of new material in there. Existing people, if you're watching this and you're one of my members already, you get a free upgrade to the version 2.0. Any new members that are going to be coming in, that price is going to be around about $1,000. So what, 800 quid if you're in England. So that's it. So lots of projects coming to an end. I'm not going to be traveling like I have been over the last couple of months. So I've been flying to the Middle East. I've been going to, I was in California last week, and I was in Europe a couple of weeks before that. So again, I haven't got much planned in the diary. So now would be a good time for me really to commit to something new. CrossFit. So I have very little understanding, and I think I've made this clear already, of CrossFit, that world. I see it's very popular globally. I speak to people all the time and they ask me what CrossFit is. I don't really understand it fully. I've watched the CrossFit Games on telly. I'm familiar with some of the names that are banded around. I've worked with one CrossFit athlete before on a very short-term basis to achieve a certain goal, which we did. So again, I'm aware of it being a combination of lots of different aspects of sports which interest me, but is based around where the direction I want to go, and that's to, again, get back up to 97 kilos ish, 10% body fat. It was at the level of which I was happy, not just aesthetically happy with, but also functionally I was happy with as well. I didn't feel out of breath when I was lifting things. I could carry things for long distance. I was still able to swim in the ocean without feeling too heavy or feeling like I was getting dragged away because I had no body weight. So really that is the intention, that is the goal. So CrossFit just seemed to tick a lot of the boxes. Plus, I know some people within the community and they've been harping on at me for the last couple of years really to get involved. I've done CrossFit twice, 2 hours total in my lifetime. First time was more of a bit of fun, really seeing how I got on. It was when I was at probably my fittest, so I just went in and saw it as another training session. The second time I did it, my dear friend Amy came down. We went to a CrossFit facility on the outskirts of Brighton, down on the south coast, and I managed to blind my right eye. I had something called retinal vein inoculation. If you've seen any of my previous work, you know I was speaking about it there. There is a blog on the website which I talk about it in more detail, but basically one of the retinal veins that supply blood to the back of the eye exploded. We have, I think, between 3 and 5 of them. One of mine exploded. I had a hemorrhage in the back of the eye, which had to be lasered over a period of months. Fortunately, I got the vision in my eye back, and that was my last experience of CrossFit up until last week, where I made a commitment then there was going to be a sport, an activity that I was going to commit to for another 100 days. Now, it was interesting because like all things, you don't just generally just jump in. I knew there was going to be like a one-to-one coaching, an induction series. So I did my first session today. It was interesting, really interesting. Went to the new facility, which is just opening this weekend, their opening day. Their name is, if you want to check them out online, it is, where are we? MVMT42, so that's Mike Victor Mike Tango 42. Go check them out online. It's a new facility that they're opening this coming couple of weeks, this Saturday. Lots of building works going on. It is a magnificent project. Their aim is to be the #1 athlete facility in the southeast. I think they're going to achieve that. It's pretty obvious. The guys there are really passionate about what they're doing. They seem to be building a fantastic team of individuals around them that span all aspects of fitness. They've got a gym facility there which is going to be kitted out with some of the best products in the industry. They've got an area which is going to be utilised for CrossFit. They've got several outside areas. They've got a grass area which can be utilised in the summer. I'm on no commission here. As a result, I can just see the potential in this facility. So I reached out to them last week. I was invited along to 3 one-to-one sessions, really to analyse whether I was not only a right fit for them, but if they were a right fit for me. I can pretty much be certain to say that they are, based on the session that I had today, despite it not going to where I thought it was going to go. So booked in for that. Went today. As I said, magnificent facility. As you drive up, you're greeted with, gravel driveway, open gardens, like a lavender garden on the right-hand side. It's almost good enough to, I would be calling a retreat, really fairly, but it's a fitness facility or an elite athlete facility, or an athlete facility. So, there was a few building works going on, which is to be understood. You know, they're finishing off the final touches leading into their launch weekend, and greeted by their dog stand at the door, Porter. So again, this gives you the bit of the feel what it's like. It's they're small enough to care, or gives this impression, and then maybe speaking out of turn, small enough to care but big enough to matter, you know, if that kind of makes sense. So Porter was at the door, then walked in and met the head coach there, Nathan, or one of the head coaches there, Nathan, who I'm just going to back up a little minute. There's that apprehension when starting any new sport or going to any new facility. It's like starting school for the first day. You don't really know what to expect, whether they're going to be nice, whether they're going to be welcoming, whether they're going to be demeaning or anything else. You're kind of going in a bit lost. Now, I know some people that have worked with the guys there before, and they have always spoken very highly of them. But in my word, you've got to judge for yourself. Not judge, but you've got to really accept and open yourself up to that environment and see for your own eyes what it's going to be like. All I'm going to say is there was no disappointment today. Clearly the guys there know what they're talking about. They all compete, they practice what they preach, they're in good shape, they're determined, they're passionate, they're there for your best interest and your welfare. On the flip side of that, they're not afraid. Again, this is only from my brief time with them today, a couple of hours. They don't, it's my perception that they would be quite willing to call you out on anything that you're not doing, which works fine with me. You know, if I'm going to pay for a service, I want them to tell me what I'm not doing right and pull me up on all the bits, which again he did today. And actually I found more benefit in a couple of hours today with him than I've found in working with some of the best coaches on the planet over a longer period of time. So greeted by the team, greeted by Nathan. He took me into a room, just went through the basics of really what I want to achieve. Now, I've mentioned it before, I want to get back up to 97 kilos there or thereabouts, about 10% body fat. I want to build that strength back up while keeping some of my endurance ability. As you can tell, I've got a long way to go. I'm probably around about 80 kilos, 82 kilos at the moment, around about 20% body fat. Last year, as I've said, in September I was 77 kilos, around about 8-10% ish. So I've got a long way to go. I lost that 20 kilos for 2016. Now it's time to put it back on. I feel comfortable, I feel passionate about that, and I know that I've made the right decision where I'm going. So ran through a couple of bits and pieces, my goals, my aspirations, my dreams. We spoke about where CrossFit kind of fits in, because it is a multi-sport discipline. You've got gymnastics there, you've got weightlifting, you've got, you know, so many different elements to it. It's an element sport, again, which is another aspect which really interests me. Not suitable for everyone, but it suits well with me, keeps things exciting. And then we went through some basics on the rower. Now, this just proves how much more there is to need to know. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever used a Concept 2 rower, there's a slider on the right hand side of the fan that goes from 1 to 10. I've always been under the understanding, and I spoke to another PT friend of mine today, qualified PT, who thought the same as me, that it was simply a gearing system that would work on resistance. 1 being light, 10 being the greatest resistance that was available. Well, it's not. Actually, it works on calibrating the machine with the environment, with you as the individual. So there's actually a setting where you can calibrate it. You go into settings, and then I think there's a number there that you have to calibrate it to based on your row, and that number on the side, the fan number, again, that's not the technical term, I'm going to call it fan number, to 135. I think that's the number. So you calibrate it to 135, there or thereabouts. Again, I can't remember the number specifically. Once you hit that number, you stop on that sliding scale. That means that if you work to that, every Concept 2 rower that you work on, you're going to get the right data back. Again, if you're going to a gym facility on a regular basis, you know that your individual rower could be moved, or the one that you prefer could be already being used by somebody else, so you jump on another rower. You might be completely out of sync of the effort that you were putting in the previous one. So no two workouts really are going to be comparable. If you're measuring your training and measuring your success, and there is an intentional goal that you're aiming towards, then, as you know, statistics are really, really key. As per my 100 Days to Ironman, where I recorded all my data over the 100 days, including my urinalysis, blood work, and all these other things. So that was one of the first things that I learned from today. The second thing, we focused on some of my the larger movements, so deadlift. There was a lot of work that I did there. He adjusted my position slightly, some of my foot movements, and shifted some of my weight, of which I would say that I completed that exercise with a saving, or the ability, let's say, to lift around about 25% more. So there was a significant increase in that. Then we went on to squats. Now I can get my ass to the floor on a squat, but the idea of squatting and any of these larger movements, as you may or may not be aware, is all about the form. Form goes to the wall when you start to overcompensate or hyperextend or any of these other factors. So what we did is we looked at my squat, and actually there was a curvature in my back the lower I went, so we lifted it around about 4 inches. I felt it more in the hips, but my back was straight. I felt more stable. Again, small alterations making a big difference. Then we went on to a fitness test, which I think nearly killed me. It was just 6 minutes on a rower. First 4 minutes at a percentage, and then the last 2 minutes best effort. I paced it completely wrong. I gauged myself really based on where I was fitness last year, minus a little bit, but actually I needed to minus a lot more. I've got deja vu here because I said something very similar on my full distance to my half Ironman. But again, really good foundation. I know where I am now. I know at the point of where I feel dizzy. Nathan had to leave me actually for a couple of minutes while I laid down and oxygenated my blood a little bit because I felt a little bit dizzy with the effort. I wanted not only to do my best, but also I wanted to show that I was worthy to be part of a group, a community like that. And I think there's a shift there in mindset that some people need to take. You know, these guys invest massively amounts of their own time to be there on time to take the classes. You should be the one that's attempting to impress them, not the other way around. If it's an expert, the expert is there for a reason. You value their knowledge, their understanding, their truth, their knowns. So it's key that you put in your best effort every time you turn up. So I kind of wanted to prove that, but again, it highlighted to me actually how far I have to go in order to get to a level of which I believe is acceptable. So I'm going to wrap it up there because there is lots going on.